we spoke with Dr. Didacus Jules, the Director General of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS. Dr. Jules shared with us details on the celebratory activities for the 42nd anniversary of the OECS and stressed the importance of regional integration and development. To continue this conversation, it is our pleasure to welcome His Excellency Ambassador Larry Vaughan to Good Morning SKN. Good morning, Ambassador, and welcome to Good Morning SKN.
Good morning, my hosts.
Happy you could join us this morning, sir.
Happy that you could have joined us on Saturday morning.
Oh. It was indeed. I enjoyed that walk indeed. So let's first talk about your thoughts on the theme, vision, integration, sustainability, and progress.
That theme, and it encapsulates a story. Mm-hmm. The vision that came in 1981 mm-hmm. for there to be closer integration. I don't know if Dr. Jules would have spoken about WISA, W-I-S-A.
Yes, I asked him about
how it transitioned into the OECS.
Yes.
There is a stkitts reality where in 1979, a gentleman by the name of C.A. Paul Southwell, mm-hmm. he would have been at that WISA meeting in 1979 okay. to formulate the OECS and died at that meeting.
Oh, yes, yes.
And so stkittsnevis has been deeply involved in that integration process. Mm-hmm. And there is a vision towards that stronger West Indian reality mm-hmm. of harmonization, of being able to move freely between the member states. And so that vision came into being in the form of the OECS in 1981. Yes. And we wanted to be able to bring about integration. Mm-hmm. We wanted it to be sustainable, that for generations to come, there would be that integration process, mm-hmm. that it started in 1981, but it should go, as our national anthem says, to posterity extend.
Yes.
And then finally, the progress, mm-hmm. that we must have prosperous states, that we can have in our region a monetary system that keeps the value of yes. the EC dollar quite stable, so that despite all the issues we face with Ukraine and, yes. and with COVID, we are still in relative ease because that vision yes. has been put in place for integration that is sustainable and bringing progress. It tells our story. Yes. I love the theme. I don't know who came up with it, but I think I'd give them half my salary.
Oh, yeah, and
it makes sense. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
You explained it so well.
Yes,
so
indeed. Your Excellency, I realized there was a week-long list of activities. Mm-hmm. You had the fun walk. You also have the flag-raising ceremony, and also there was OECS in the classroom. Can you share with us some of your experience during those activities?
Have you ever heard of baptism by fire?
Oh, so you were baptized by fire?
I consider it to be that, because
he made it look easy. Mm-hmm.
When I looked at it, I really thought that all the commission, the OECS commission, would have been coming for was the heads meeting, mm-hmm. and that's it. And then I was told that in every member state, whenever the heads meeting is being held, it's always around the 18th of June, okay. as the anniversary of the signing of the Treaty of Bastille.
Yes.
That they would come to the member state and they would have pre-activities yes. in celebration of that anniversary.
Right.
And so when I was told that there are going to be some pre-meeting activities, we then asked, what would they be? And they want to go into the classrooms, so you have to organize. Mm-hmm. And so we were happy with the level of support we got from the Ministry of Education, where we were able to go into 12 primary schools across St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay.
So we, if I could quickly off the top of my head tell you them, we went to Brontuwell, Sandy Point, St. Paul. In Nevis, we went to Elizabeth Pemberton Primary, St. Thomas's, and Violet Jeffers Nichols.
Nice.
Back in St. Kitts on the Thursday, we went to Keon Primary, Molyneux Primary, and Sadler's Primary. And then on the Friday, we did Tucker Clark, Irish Town, and St. Peter's Primary. I'm trying to remember, Dean Glassford.
Okay.
And so we covered these schools, and there was an enthusiasm in the children. We understand that sometimes we believe that we don't know much about regional integration, but by the time we spoke, the children at the age of grades 5 and 6 were telling us. So it tells me that our people have an understanding.
Yes.
It's just that we need to have the conversation.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Because to have information and not apply it does not make good value of the information. And so we recognize that as young as grades 5 and 6, our children have an understanding of the regional integration. It means our adults also have some understanding. Perhaps the application is the issue. And that's what one of the learning that took place for me during those school visits. We wanted to visit the high schools and the college, and we realized it was not possible. It's exam time. We can't get into the schools. And so we supplemented that for a panel discussion on national TV on the Thursday evening. It went very well. There were guests. The host was lawyer Brooks, Vadisha John Brooks, and her style interwove that conversation of a young youth parliamentarian who was able to bring what are the issues the young people would think about regional integration, and interwove my perspective, Dr. Jules's perspectives as the Director General, and also Mrs. Satney, Francis Ann Satney, who was able to speak to regional integration as someone who was born in Dominica, worked in Antigua, married to a St. Lucian, living in St. Kitts, and interacting and working across the different islands. And when you have that rich experience, it tells you that regional integration is real. It's now to bring it further, because as the theme is saying, it ends with progress, but progress is not the end, because progress is an ongoing thing.
Right? You are correct.
And so that is why I love the theme. It doesn't come to a finality. It tells you that it must keep going. It must go for the advancement of the people. The flag raising, that too was a simple yet symbolic ceremony, and the flags will be up until Friday over at the Frigate Bay area in the roundabout that has been dedicated to the life of Mr. Zuliani. We chose that area because everyone coming into and out of Frigate Bay will see it. And so it was strategically chosen for that, and the meetings were also in Frigate Bay. So the heads also would pass it, coming and going. It was strategically chosen. And then the walk in solidarity. This was the biggest surprise for me. I really thought that, hey, if I get 100 people come to that walk, I'll be okay. But I said, okay, as someone who has lived my life into sales and marketing, I could try to beef it up at least to 250. So what I did, I catered for 300. So if I'm successful, by the end of the first week, I was over 270 subscribed. And we got nearly 400 persons on the walk, and so it was an overwhelming success. We have the understanding that the people, not only do they understand, but they associate as well. And it's for us to keep that fire going, that understanding continuing. So those were the activities, and the meeting got off to a great start on Sunday afternoon, and the heads did meet on Monday and arrived at some very good decisions for the people of the region.
That's good. Well, the significance of the 73rd meeting of the OECS Authority, that was the installation of our Prime Minister as the new chair. How significant is it for our federation?
It is significant for the federation because stkittsnevis continues to be at the vanguard of regional integration. I went as far back as 1979 with Paul Southwell, but I can go further back with Robert Bradshaw being in what in the late 1950s to 1962 was the West Indies Federation. And he was the Minister of Finance there from its inception to its closure in 1962. So we have been leading all along. And so Dr. Drew comes in at this point to be the chair with an understanding that he desires to achieve some things on the regional front that will not only benefit the region, but will make the way for St. Kitts and Nevis. Because one of the things he wants to look at would be healthcare.
Yes.
And he's looking at what we are calling centers of excellence. So that if across the region, where we have about 650,000 persons living in the OECS, in the protocol states,
Yes.
because we also have 4 other member states who are not protocol members, and we are hoping that eventually they will accede and come fully into as members.
Right.
Yes.
But what we're looking for at this point under health and centers of excellence is that perhaps St. Kitts and Nevis can be the area for heart, or we're doing kidney transplants.
Yes.
And so it takes the burden of going to North America,
Yes.
going to Europe, paying more monies
Yes.
when it is available. But here is the other problem. How do you get these patients from the islands when we have a transportation issue? So the other agenda is to make sure that we can move freely about the region, because you can't have deep integration when I can't move freely.
Yeah.
And so the other thing we're looking at is to finalize the agenda to make sure that goods and people move freely as well. So on the agenda was the free circulation of goods, where once goods have landed in any one of the member states, to transfer it from one member state to the next should not incur any additional duties or taxes, because it is already within the jurisdiction of the OECS. And very much the same for the citizens, that if Larry Vaughan tomorrow sees an opportunity in Antigua and Barbuda, he is able to travel there without a passport and begin that work even without the need for a work permit or for skill certificate, as is the requirement on another form of regional integration with CARICOM at this time. And so we are seeking to have even much more deeper integration than is currently available in the broader context. And so the OECS is having this opportunity to get more done under the leadership now of Dr. Drew, because this becomes his moment of hurrah. It's 7 more years before it circulates again, because every protocol member state gets the opportunity to chair. And it goes in alphabetical order. So we're expecting that the next chairman would be the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. And so we must pass along an agenda to him that is, if it is not even complete within the year, it is so well defined and advanced that he can take up the baton and continue.
You just said something about several years and a year. Just to clear it up before we continue. So Dr. Drew will
His chairmanship is only for a year.
Oh, only for a year. Okay.
And there are 7 protocol member states.
Yes.
So Montserrat alphabetically came before us.
Yes.
That's why Montserrat gave up the chairmanship to Dr. Drew, who will now pass on in 1 year's time to St. Lucia.
Okay, understood.
So what about those associated member states? Will they get the opportunity to lead the OECS as well?
From my understanding, they may be able to host a meeting, but they're not, because of their protocol membership. I don't know them to be able to chair. I know the chairmanship revolves within the protocol states, which are those who are full members of the OECS.
Okay. And let's focus a bit and speak a little bit about
all about you.
Yes, your position as commissioner to the OECS. How long have you been working in the capacity as commissioner to the OECS?
I was appointed to the position in November 24th last year.
Okay, congrats.
I was given the opportunity to become the commissioner with the impartation of the role as head of the regional integration and diaspora unit in the office of the Prime Minister. So what happens in that capacity? I would become the Prime Minister's lead person for regional matters.
Okay.
And so that encapsulates OECS, broader to CARICOM, and even broader to the ACS, which is the Association of Caribbean States. Then added to that, there is a diaspora aspect where we're looking at the work and integrating the people of St. Kitts and Nevis who live abroad. And so the diaspora unit also would take care of that. Already we have named an ambassador to the diaspora, who would be able to represent the Prime Minister to our people in the diaspora and to represent to the Prime Minister the interests and the concerns of people in the diaspora. That person is Dr. Christine Walwyn, and she is off to a very good start, and we are hoping that within a few weeks she'll be representing us at the ANSA, the Anguilla Nevis St. Kitts Association's reunion. It takes place ever so often, and this year it's happening, I think the dates are the 14th to the 16th of July in Anguilla. And so St. Kitts Nevis associations from around the world will congregate in Anguilla and discuss issues of importance to our nationals living in the diaspora.
And of course, I have to ask you, what are some of the highs and lows of being the commissioner to the
because
OECS?
you have quite a portfolio there.
Yes. I have not found the lows as yet.
As yet.
I have not found the lows as yet. Because I want to believe that I'm starting off in a humble position.
That's good.
So I have not been able to look any further down than the humble position I'm taking.
I love that.
The highs, though, would be the ability to put forward the agenda of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Nice.
I've learned a very long time ago that we don't have perpetual friends. What we have in international relations is perpetual interests.
Yes, Dr.
What
Jules said that.
are the interests of St. Kitts and Nevis? And how can we, in having that, those interests, having that agenda, be able to make sure that we are at the table of brotherhood to make sure that it takes place? I spent some time some years ago, which I'm bringing to this job. I spent some time some years ago, and I met a gentleman who was once the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Singapore. And he was promoting a book he had written. And the book has stayed with me for life. The name of the book, it says, "Be at the table or be on the menu." And my desire as the St. Kitts and Nevis representative to these organizations is to be at the table, to bring the agenda of St. Kitts and Nevis to the table, and in such a way that we can share with our brothers from each of the different member states, so that together we can achieve in the interest of all the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, of all the people of the Eastern Caribbean. And so here we are, 42 years and growing strong. Very soon we'll be celebrating our golden anniversary, maybe in like 8 more years. And maybe by that time, St. Kitts and Nevis will revolve around again to become the chair. So who knows? So these are the kind of things we are looking at. We want to be able, by the next by the end of the next 6 years, because there are triennial, every 3 years there are triennial agendas, strategic plans, and it is our desire as the commission to ensure that all that was set out in the revised Treaty of Bastille, to now bring that to pass and to be implemented effectively and understood by the people of the region. And so that becomes my task. My task is to educate the people, let the people know what is happening with regional integration. How does it benefit the people with the regional integration? The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party came into government seeking to strengthen the blue and the orange economies. these are also priorities of the OECS. So how do we make sure we benefit from? How do we make sure that our local artisans and artists, that they have enough of a market within the OECS, that they're free to ply their trade in the different islands without restrictions, and to their financial, social, and other benefits. And so these are the highs for me, because I now have to bring these into fruition. And here you have a prime minister who is leading this agenda, and I have to make sure he looks good.
Of course.
I like that. Well, we will take a short break, and when we return, we are going to speak to Ambassador Vaughan about his new role as the stkittsnevis ambassador to CARICOM.
It's not new. All of them came together. It was a package deal.